There's a moment every parent dreams about. That first glimpse of your child, walking down the aisle, smiling, radiant, living the life you always hoped they'd have. But in my case, that moment became the exact second my heart broke in half, when my daughter looked me dead in the eyes and acted like she'd never seen me before in her life. Not a wave, not a nod, nothing. Just blankness. As if I was a ghost in the crowd, invisible at her own wedding. But she remembered me soon enough. The day a $500,000 bill landed in her mailbox with my name on it, that's when she came crawling back, suddenly calling me Dad again. And by then, it was far too late. They say revenge is best served cold. I served mine chilled, with a printed invoice. If you've ever sacrificed everything for someone you love, only for them to turn their back on you when it mattered most, then stay right here. Because what you're about to hear isn't just a revenge story. It's the story of a father's heartbreak, and the day he finally decided to stop being invisible. Hit that like button if you believe karma never forgets, and let's begin. My name's Daniel Whitaker, and if you had asked anyone who knew me 10 years ago what kind of man I was, they'd tell you. I was the guy who lived for his daughter. Emily was everything to me. Her smile was my paycheck, her laughter my retirement plan. When my wife left us, Emily was only 10. She stood on our porch with a teddy bear in one arm and tears streaming down her cheeks as her mother drove away. That night, I made a promise. I don't know how we'll get through this, sweetheart, but I promise, you'll never go without love. And I meant every word. I worked days at the auto shop, nights repairing HVAC units, weekends doing side jobs for cash. If someone needed a fence painted or a truck engine replaced, I was their guy. Not because I loved grease under my nails, but because I loved watching Emily's eyes light up every time I brought home her favorite chocolate milk after a double shift. She didn't ask for much, and I gave her everything. School trips, I saved months to afford them. Ballet lessons, I bartered car parts for tuition. Her birthdays, homemade cakes and second-hand decorations, but always filled with love. People told me I was spoiling her. Maybe I was. But when you're raising a child alone, you start to believe that love can fix anything. You think, if I give enough, she'll never feel the emptiness I did. The dream she chased. When she turned 18, she told me she wanted to study event management. A small college, nothing fancy. But she said, "Dad, I want to build moments people never forget." That line, "build moments people never forget," stuck with me. I told her, then let's make it happen. I sold my old pickup, cleared a small loan, and made sure she started college with everything she needed. I remember the day I dropped her off. She hugged me tight and whispered, "You're my hero, Dad. I'll make you proud." And she did. For a while. The first year, she called every night. We'd talk about classes, professors, how she was learning to organize big events. By the second year, the calls became shorter. "Hey, Dad, can't talk long. Got a project." Third year, I was lucky to get a text. At first, I didn't mind. I told myself, she's growing up, she's busy, but deep down, something in me knew I was losing her. When she graduated, she started her own small event planning company with 2 college friends. They were ambitious, energetic, and Emily, well, she was the face of it. I helped her get started, used my business credit to back her company's first contracts, put my signature on supplier forms, helped her rent an office. She promised, "Dad, I'll pay you back once we're profitable." I waved it off. "Just focus on your dream." I didn't realize that dream was slowly erasing me from her life. The fiancé 2 years later, she called with big news. "Dad, I'm getting married." I still remember the joy in her voice. It was the old Emily again. She sent me pictures. Her and this guy, Tyler, standing on a balcony overlooking the city. Perfect hair. Designer suit. The kind of guy who wears a watch that costs more than my car. When I met him, he shook my hand like I was an employee. Firm, polite, but empty. "So you're the man behind Emily's work ethic," he said. "She says you're a mechanic." He didn't say it like a compliment. He said it like he was inspecting a scratch on a new car. Emily laughed awkwardly. "Tyler, stop teasing." but his smirk told me everything I needed to know. He didn't respect me, and worse, I started to realize neither did she anymore. The subtle shift. After that dinner, things changed. Suddenly, Emily started calling me Daniel. The first time, I thought I misheard. "Daniel, can you send over your old vendor contacts? Tyler thinks we could use them for the wedding." "Daniel?" I laughed. "Since when am I Daniel?" She giggled nervously. "Oh, sorry. Habit from work. You know how it is." No, I didn't. I knew exactly what it was. Embarrassment. She was ashamed of me. My calloused hands, my worn-out jeans, my old pickup truck. The very things that paid for her education were now the things she wanted to hide. Still, I said nothing. I told myself, it's just wedding stress. But every conversation after that felt rehearsed, filtered, like she was always watching what Tyler might think. When she told me she wanted to handle her own wedding planning, I was proud. This was her career after all. She said her company would organize the entire thing, the venue, the decor, everything. "Dad, you just relax and show up. My treat this time." My treat. Those words hit differently. It sounded sweet. But in hindsight, it was a warning. Because when she said, "my treat," what she really meant was, "my company will put everything under your name." And you won. Do you even know it yet? The wedding day came bright and gold, a mansion-style venue with glass walls, fountains, and a floral arch taller than a house. I wore my best suit, pressed, clean, tie slightly crooked, but proud. It was the same tie I'd worn when she graduated college. I walked in, head high, ready to see my little girl begin her new life. And immediately, something felt wrong. No one looked familiar. The staff didn't know me. Guests were mingling in designer clothes, sipping champagne worth more than my week's wages. I found the photographer and asked, "Hey, where should I stand for the family photos?" He glanced at his clipboard. Sorry, sir. Who are you with? Catering?" Catering. My chest tightened. "No, I'm the father of the bride." He blinked, confused. "Oh, there's no note about that. Maybe check with the coordinator?" I spotted Emily across the garden, breathtaking in white lace, surrounded by bridesmaids. For a second, I forgot everything. She looked like an angel. I walked closer. She turned, and her smile faded. "Dad," she whispered sharply, "don't make a scene, okay? A scene? I just wanted to—" "Please," she hissed, eyes darting to Tyler's parents nearby. "Just sit quietly. Some of the guests don't really know about your background." When the lights of the wedding faded and the last of the guests had left, I drove home in silence. The roads were empty. My suit jacket still smelled like her wedding perfume, roses and white jasmine, but it made me sick to my stomach. I replayed that moment over and over again. My daughter, my little girl, staring through me like I was invisible. Not a single word, not even a "hi, Dad." It's strange how silence can hurt more than screaming ever could. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in my study, surrounded by photo frames, her first day of kindergarten, her high school graduation, all the birthdays I'd planned down to the smallest detail. And now she'd walked into a new life pretending I didn't exist. But the real pain came 2 weeks later. I remember thinking, weird, maybe one of the vendors forgot something. Inside was a neatly stapled set of invoices: catering, venue, designer dress, open bar, photographer. Total due $498,700. At the bottom, in black ink, was a handwritten note. "As discussed, Daniel will be handling final payment." My hands started to shake. I flipped through the pages. My company name was on every single vendor form. My company. Apparently, every major expense had been billed to the business credit account that ID once opened for family projects. Except I never authorized a single charge. She had used my company name to pay for everything. My daughter, the one who pretended not to know me. I called her the next morning, straight to voicemail. I tried again, nothing. Then I called her new husband, Evan, a smug tech bro type I'd never really liked. He answered on the second ring. "Hey, Daniel, what's up?" "Evan, I just received a $500,000 bill for your wedding, and it's under my business account. What the hell is going on? Oh, yeah, that. Look, man, Sarah said you wanted to cover it, like as a wedding gift or something. A wedding gift? $500,000? Hey, dude, you're loaded. You can afford it. It's not like it's going to hurt you, right? He chuckled. That sound, that condescending little laugh, burned through me. Evan, I said, keeping my voice steady, you have 24 hours to fix this before I involve my attorney. Chill, old man, he said, actually laughing now. We'll talk later. Don't make this awkward, okay? Then he hung up. They thought I'd just swallow it, like I'd quietly pay and fade away, embarrassed. And for a few days, I almost did. I thought about how raising her had cost me everything. My marriage, my savings, my youth. Maybe this was just another thing to lose. But then I saw something that flipped the switch. One evening, a colleague sent me a photo from the Chronicle S Society section, a feature on the wedding of the year. There she was, Sarah, radiant in her designer gown, standing beside Evan. The caption read, "Funded by her successful entrepreneur father, Daniel Hayes," who graciously covered every detail. They had bragged about it, publicly. They had used me. That's when the pain turned into clarity. I wasn't just the father she was ashamed of. I was the ATM she expected to keep giving, silently, forever. I poured myself a whiskey, sat back, and started planning. I didn't want to yell. I didn't want to beg. I wanted them to feel what I felt. That slow, burning humiliation. Not for a moment, for months. So I called my lawyer. A quiet, precise man named Jeffrey who'd handled my company's contracts for years. Jeff, I need to talk about unauthorized business expenses, roughly $500,000. Good Lord, Daniel. Who did this? My daughter. Your daughter? Yes. And I want to make sure every cent comes back, legally. Jeff didn't even flinch. He just said, "Send me everything. We'll handle this quietly." For the next month, we built the case. Every contract, every receipt, every proof that I hadn't signed a thing. Turns out, Sarah had used a digital copy of my signature, one Ibudi sent her years ago for college paperwork. She'd photoshopped it onto vendor agreements. That meant fraud. Jeff prepared the filings, but I wasn't ready to press charges yet. Not yet. I wanted to let them sweat, so I waited. Then, as if on cue, the calls started coming in. The caterer, the event planner, the hotel, all confused, all demanding final payment, and I gave them the same calm, rehearsed line. "You'll have to speak with Mrs. Sarah Evans. She's the one who signed those papers. My company won't be paying." By week's end, the vendors began calling her. Her name, her new address, her number, all on the contracts. It didn't take long for the dominoes to fall. A month later, I received another envelope, this time from her. Inside, a handwritten note on expensive stationery. "Dad, we need to talk. Please don't make this ugly. Evan and I can't handle all these calls. You're ruining things. No apology, no remorse, just fear of consequences." I smiled. Finally, the first crack in the perfect image she'd built. That's when I decided the lesson needed to go deeper. The turning point. I called my accountant and instructed him to freeze the family trust fund. Sarah's college savings, her future inheritance, all of it. Then, I transferred every remaining asset out of shared family entities into private LLCs, quietly, legally, completely. If she wanted independence, she was about to experience it in full. 2 days later, she called. I hadn't heard her voice in months. "Dad, what's going on?" "The trust account's locked. Evan says we can't access anything." "That's correct." "Why?" "You can't do this. It's my money." "No, Sarah, it was your future. But you made it clear I'm not part of it." "Oh my God, you're being insane. You're humiliating us." "No, Sarah," I said quietly. "You humiliated me. I just sent the bill back where it belongs." Pause, silent stretch. "Dad," she whispered. "Please, I didn't mean—" "You meant every word, every look, every lie. And now you'll pay for them." Click. I ended the call. That was the night I stopped being the father who begged for respect. That was the night I became the man who demanded it. But revenge wasn't done yet, because I wasn't just going to make them pay back the money. I was going to make sure their perfect lives crumbled piece by piece. When you decide to make someone answer for what they've done, the hardest part isn't the plan. It's the waiting, the patience, watching them prosper while you lay the trap. I had spent weeks assembling proof. Emails, contracts with forged signatures, timestamps showing when vendors were asked to deliver and who approved them. All of it pointed to one thing. The wedding had been run through my company's name by my daughter and her new circle, not by me. So I did something cruel and civilized at the same time. I let the world handle the humiliation I could not utter. The first domino was the catering company. I called them, laid out the evidence, and asked them to reissue the invoice to the name actually on the signed contract, Emily Whitaker Events, LLC. They obliged. Next, the florist. Next, the lighting company. One by one, vendors who'd once chased payments from me began calling Emily's office. Investors who'd thought her company was flush with credibility started asking awkward questions. Creditors who had been reassured by my name on the guarantee suddenly cared less when the guarantor revoked his signature. Within days, the small web of favors and polite reassurances that held her business together started to unravel. Soft, almost clinical narration. Investors demanded a full audit. The line of credit she'd been using, frozen pending review. Deposits for future weddings were frozen. Contracts were put on hold. Word spread, politely at first, then with the sharpness of a headline. Whitaker's luxury wedding billing error raises concerns. Event firm under scrutiny after finance irregularities. Social proof is a fragile thing. Once doubt seeps in, people flee, quietly, with polite emails and the casual cruelty of canceled contracts. One of her former clients, a woman who'd had a small, intimate wedding planned and suddenly had it canceled, posted a thread online. She wrote about being ghosted, deposits vanishing, and the nightmare of vendors refusing to show up. She tagged Emily S. firm and attached a screenshot of an email chain showing Emily S. signature approving a $50,000 floral layout. The thread caught fire. Comments poured in, others with similar stories, other unpaid invoices, other canceled events. People who once posted glowing photos of Emily S. staged events now attacked her with the brutal efficiency of strangers who feel righteous. Pause, low hurt tone. She tried to call every person back. She tried to apologize. She offered payment plans. But thousands of eyes were already on her mistakes. When you climb on a pedestal built with borrowed credibility, the fall is televised. Evan's reaction was immediate and predictable. He called once, twice, trying to smooth things over. Then, when the news cycle picked up, when his own social accounts started getting questions from friends and family, he distanced himself. I remember the call I got from a mutual acquaintance. "Daniel, Evan's family wants him to step away. It's bad press. They're asking him to reassess the marriage." And just like that, the man who strutted into our lives with a confident smirk packed his tailored suits and left. No explanation at the wedding, no confrontation, just absence, the kind that sounds like cowardice and looks like survival. He abandoned her not because she'd been accused, but because she was less valuable now. He abandoned her before the scandal touched his name. Narration turns procedural, crisp. My lawyer, Jeffrey, moved quietly but decisively. He filed claims to correct the record, provided vendors with the forged signature evidence, and set the stage for a civil case. When the auditors came in, they found more than just one forged signature. They found a pattern of creative bookkeeping, misapplied deposits, and revenue recognized before contracts were fulfilled. Investors, who had once toasted Emily S. vision, were suddenly very interested in getting their money back. Term sheets were rescinded, partnerships evaporated, the office lights were dimmed. People who had once called her boss began calling her former CEO. 3 months from the wedding, Emily's company was insolvent. The bank called in loans, vendors filed liens. Her brand, the one she'd worked so hard to create, collapsed like a house of cards.